Hello and good afternoon. We are joined now here with two very impressive women, the Honorable Michelle Flournoy, former Undersecretary of Defense for Policy in the US, and perhaps also future Secretary of Defense, maybe, and the Honorable Jane Harman, who was 9 terms in Congress and served on all the major security committees. Today they are both leaders of think tanks, major think tanks in the US. And we want to talk a little bit about women and security-related issues and negotiations. Even if we look here at the list of speakers in this conference, we see that, and in other similar conferences, that there are very few women. So maybe let's start with the question, why? Why do you think this is the case? And what can and should be done to change this reality?
I think that in national security in many countries has traditionally been a very male-dominated environment, often people with prior military experience coming in with their expertise and so forth. And so it hasn't always appeared a field that's open or welcoming to women. But I think that's changing, certainly in the United States. You have really several generations of women who are reaching increasing levels of responsibility and influence in the field, and I think as they've become more visible, that's attracted more women into the field to follow them. So I certainly know that in the Clinton administration, my first job in the Pentagon, there was less than 2 handfuls of women in leadership positions. When I left as Undersecretary, there were several dozen. So it is changing over time, maybe not quickly enough, but it is changing.
I would just observe that internationally it's changing as well. In Germany, for example, where the Munich Security Conference is held, a major security conference next month, the Minister of Defense is a woman, Ursula von der Leyen. And there has been a woman Minister of Defense in numerous countries in Europe. And so check that box. And soon there will be in the United States, I would predict. But in the Congress, where I served for so long, I saw the number of women increase from a handful, basically, when I was elected, to close to 20%, 20% in the Senate and close to 20% in the House. And I saw women serve on all the major committees that have to do with security. I was one of those women. I was the senior Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee for a long time, especially during the early post-9/11 years. And I found that the way you get more women is to do the job well, and other women want to do that. And now we have women, not just in our Congress, but we have women heading 4 or 5 of our major aerospace companies. Mm-hmm. That's new too, and they're qualified and they're excellent.
And several of the key national security think tanks as well.
And intelligence.
Two of them.
Yes, well, exactly. The best of the best. But also the intelligence agencies are now headed by women, some of them, not all of them yet. But back in the day, there were 0 women.
Mm-hmm. So when we talk about it, and when I'm asked why should women be there, I say, well, we're 50% of the population. We need to be represented in decision making. But there's also the question. Some say that women also bring different qualities, capabilities, and characteristics to the negotiation table, to decision making processes. Others say that it really depends about the specific individual, and there's nothing, gender is not relevant. What do you think? Is gender relevant? Are there different traits in women?
Well, I do think it depends on the individual somewhat. That said, all of the business literature that's looked at high-performance organizations and quality decision-making have done studies that say the more diverse your team in terms of background, perspective, experience, the better quality decisions you're going to get out of that team and the higher performance for the organization. In addition, I think from a talent perspective, you don't want to leave half your population on the table. You want to draw the best talent from your entire population. Diversity has always been a source of national strength for the United States. And I also think in a democracy, you want your leadership to actually look like your population.
I'd also add that women are very good problem solvers. Mm-hmm. That comes from experience in our families. We're often, let's not generalize, it's in all cases, but often the woman is the one who takes care of the kids, keeps the home, takes care of the extended family, and that's problem solving 24/7. And women who come to legislative bodies, everyone says this, are very good at problem solving. Those are not the only skills you need in a security position. If you're leading the Defense Department, you also have to be a leader and put a good team around you. But I would just say that women have instinctively, but also by training, qualifications that make us able to serve in any policy role at a security table. And I think that's been true for a long time. And finally, it's not overlooked anymore.
Yeah, I also, if maybe you noticed in the panel on the regional aspects, the two women on the panel were those that mentioned the humanitarian issue, the refugees, the fact that we have to look also at what's happening to the people and not only to the nation states and whether they are lasting or not. So I think there's maybe also more emphasis on other points of view, but another obstacle when we do talk about women and their careers, which usually or many times is an obstacle in reaching top-notch positions, is the difficulty to balance between work and family life. To me, part of the solution lies in making the workplace more oriented towards this challenge and adapting working methods to enable women and men to balance between these two important places in their lives. Do you agree? What is being done? What should be done? What would you do if you have the power to do more in helping with this balance?
I've had the chance to experiment a little bit with problem solving in this area, both when I was in the Pentagon and now running my think tank, CNAS. And I find that both men and women want what I call predictable time off. They may be still working very hard, long hours, but if they can have predictable time off to attend to a family member or some other personal priority, it goes a very long way, not only in terms of morale, but also in terms of quality of performance. And so I think you can create, there are all kinds of management approaches to get teams to cross-cover for each other, to deliver for each individual that predictable time off. And I find, particularly working with the next generation and younger professionals coming up in their careers, I find at CNAS I'm getting as many requests for paternity leave as I am for maternity leave. And part of maintaining and retaining the best possible talent in the organization is making sure that people can be excellent professionals and excellent parents as well.
But it's never easy.
It's not easy.
I have 4 children, and I remember so many of the tugs and pulls raising them while I had a big career. They're all adults now. I think Michelle still has 1 at home.
Teenagers, 2 at home. Yeah.
And now I have 5 and almost 6 grandchildren, and that's a much better role because they go away. And I'm teasing, but I'm proud of the fact that somehow by giving up sleep, I think I made it through all those years. And even with paternity leave and flex time and the rest of it, if you want to do a good job, which most women always want to do and do, you still have those tugs. And I say you can have it all, but not necessarily all at once. And every single day is a rebalancing act.
Yeah, no, that's very true. It takes a lot of juggling and rebalancing and trying to find that equilibrium and renegotiating it all the time on a personal basis. My point is just that I think there's much more that we in the workplace, that, you know, in terms of policies and systems, we can do more to support men and women who want to find more of that balance, even as they are high-performing contributors in their field.
And I think it's you have 4 children. I know we had an earlier conversation. You managed to do it too. It's worth trying to do it. I mean, my advice to any woman out there is don't give up marriage and family because your job is hard. If your job is hard, work harder at marriage and family too, and you'll have a much richer life.
And to the women bosses, remember how it was when you were young mothers. Don't schedule meetings that you don't have to in the evening when it's bedtime. So maybe one last sentence. A young girl comes to you and says, I want to be the Secretary of State of Defense, President. What should I do? Where should I put the emphasis? How should I get there?
I always say, follow your passion, find a way to serve. Choose the boss, not the job. Your point about the boss, find the mentors out there. Find the people who are going to invest in you, who are going to make it work for you. Be excellent. Do your absolute best, and that will propel you forward more than anything else.
One last
3 points. First of all, when a woman asks me that, I always answer. I make time to try to mentor younger women, and women need to make time to help women. That would be one point. The second point is, I say, as Michelle just did, follow your passion. Do what you're interested in. But my third point is, don't quit. Never, never quit. Things will get hard, but don't abandon that. And don't be afraid to fail. Failure is actually your friend, and we all fail. And you become stronger if you get through a failure, keep smiling, and keep your head up. Yeah. And I think that many more women than permit themselves to do it could have these big roles if they just didn't opt out.
I would also just say, find your sisters, because they can be a tremendous support, source of support.
It's true. That's right. Women help. Not all women help women, but those who do help women become dearest friends, and it matters.
So thank you. It has been a privilege, a pleasure, and thank you to those watching us. We will soon come with the next panel.